So there again, we need to have a piece of a video clip, but remember, we can make new composition from footage. We can make new composition, but typically what you want to do is get your video in there and just verify, because this one is supposed to be a 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to use a different clip here today. Sure, let's do that. This is just a piece here, and you see it is 1920 by 1080. It is 2997, and it's 16, I guess it'd be 16 seconds in length. So you can pull that down, but just to verify, always double check your composition settings here and make sure that, yes, you are at 1920, 1080, because that's the size we work. Now, what's interesting about this here is you see, look at how my time code now has changed. This is because the start time code. So it says it's 16, but it's actually, if I take this back starting at 0, it's actually only about 8 seconds in length. See, I hit that there. It's now starting at 0. And that happens a lot when you shoot video, where you hit record and then you pause and then you hit record. Think about your phone, right? You can do that. So sometimes your start time code needs to be shifted down so you can start at 0. And here, this clip. You can see it actually did pause and jump there. So it goes from this with a cloudy sky to this with a blue sky. So this clip is kind of not really, well, I guess I could get to 8 seconds here if I want to. Let's go ahead, and I'm just going to shift and drag this so it starts there. Shift, drag, start. And now I can go to the beginning even and shift, drag, and it'll snap to that. You see my clip is not really the minimum length of 8. But this is where, because it's at 29.7, if you want to play around with, like, say, time stretch or slow motion, I can have this literally go to 8 and just get a little bit slower motion on it. But now you see my composition is still at 16. So I'll just go to composition settings and change that to 8, or watch this neat trick. If I'm ending here, there are some short keys that basically set the in and out points of the composition. So if I actually were to shift and snap that to exactly being 8, what's 729, just hitting the N key on the keyboard, watch this blue marker shift over. See that? And what that basically says is that in my timeline, it's going to end here, even though the original composition was set to 16. So I don't have to go to my composition settings and shorten that comp. I can simply hit N, or if I wanted to have it begin here, I could hit B to begin. You see, it actually means that only this section here would actually be sent to the Media Encoder. Leave that. And now it's just, see, I can even zoom this in to make it full size. Composition window in my timeline. And now I can start playing around with, well, let's do, just like with all video, we want to have a fade up, or what's called a transition or a dissolve. Now, believe it or not, I can also go to my effects presets here. And you see there are some transitions pre-made called dissolves. See? So block dissolve, digital random scanline, dissolve blobs, dissolve dither, dissolve ripple, sand, melt, vapor. How about this? Dip to black. So a fade, dip to black would be something maybe I'd put at the end. And you see there's just a bunch of different pre-made, there's transitions for movement that are pre-made here. See? Card wipe 3D swing. Well, let's try something like that. Why not? Let's try card wipe 3D swing. I'm going to have it start there. And you can see now what it's going to do. See that? It's just going to use these different types of transitions that are built in. And you can see how it works, like the wiggle. It's a lot of scripting language kind of put in there. but then I can find the actual keys and say, yes, start there. And at 1 second, I want it to be fully assembled. So it's not just an opacity shift anymore. See, it's just a different kind of transition or reveal. And at the end, I could even do it again. Actually, rather than putting it all the way to the end, I'm going to put it here so I can see it. Okay. And let's see, let's go with movement. We just did movement. Let's do a wipe. And let's do clamshell, grid wipe, iris, diamond points. I don't know what these do. Let's just try one. And I'm going to say, we'll say iris star. And I'm going to drag it there. And you see that it's actually an iris that's applying, though, as a reveal. But remember, I can go into the parameters that have the keys. Here's the keys for the master control. Transition complete, and I'm just going to reverse it. Okay. So it will transition and wipe away at the end and go away. See? Okay. So just like I said, you can do simple little opacity shifts or dissolves. You've got a lot of pre-made effects in here that are already in here for doing all these things like transform. See, these image utilities. See, alpha, lightness, flip and flop. I don't even know what flip and flop is. Keying blue, keying green, image special effects, bad TV. You see that a lot on a lot of like Facebook and YouTube channels where the opening title will be like this noise, that bad TV noise, night vision. See, there's even a night vision filter here. Image creative, the crystallized, sky blue, grayscale. All these things are pre-built if you want them. All right. So I have my video loaded in, right? Now, the problem is if I were to spacebar and preview, you notice it's previewing and this video came with audio. See, it's got a speaker attached to it. So maybe the audio file is lousy, right? Maybe it's just noise. It's too windy. It's too loud. It's too obnoxious. Well, that's where, and I also still have my, oh no, I don't have it. So the sound effect is, or the audio file that came with that is too loud, number one, and number two, it's just kind of lousy. So either I can turn it significantly down and then also have it kind of keyed as a fade up. And of course, at the end, key it and have it fade out. Or I could eliminate that audio file altogether and go find sound effects of the ocean and seagulls or something like that and rebuild the entire audio piece. And then, of course, I can start to think about, let's go back to my project window. And again, file import, or right-click import. Let's bring in some music then, something that's entertaining. And let's just do this again. And I'm just going to leave that there as is. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. And look at that audio file there. Look at the waveform, just see what it is. And again, at the end, I will simply just key audio level fade away. Because I know it already has a fade up. Yeah, see, it fades up. And then it's an issue now of thinking about text, right? Title. Remember, we have the action title safe button we can turn on. So it gives us our little grid lines that we can make our text stay inside. We got to find out at what point we want our title to actually appear. Maybe I'll have it appear here. let's say inshore fishing. I don't know. Let's make sure it's on the top layer so we can see it. Give it big, bold font. Remember, do this, and this anchor point you'll notice is over on the far right here because, well, the paragraph is set to justification to the right. I'll go center. That'll put the anchor point in the center to allow me to create a more dynamic title element. Remember, our basic rules for title is, again, that just because we have every font and every color at our fingertips doesn't necessarily mean we should use it. In fact, I kind of like close that and that. Gothic. Let me see if I can find a really nice big bold. There we go. Really. Okay. And I want it to appear here at the 1.5 section. So this can be now either animating it manually or using our effects presets, animation presets, and text. You see again, we've got lots of cool little, okay, and I'm going to use, let's use boomerang right there. And so it's literally going to, it's a little slow. So let me come here to the text. You see the keys that it's basically done. And now I can minimize or maximize that value of it revealing this text. You also noticed here at 1.5 though, that it's still on screen. So I have to find where it actually begins, which looks about here. Okay. Let's go ahead and just use the base transform of opacity. See, I can have those really close together so it immediately does this little build of the title. Right? That. And so we got this basic introduction of a title element, got some music. Watch what I'm going to do here now. Composition, new composition, and make this be 8 seconds. Okay, so again, I've got the original comp that I just did here, and I have the nested comp. Now watch what I'm going to do with the nested comp. I'm actually going to go grab that original video, which had the cloudy sky. Double check the 8 seconds here. I'm going to turn off, again, the sound. And back over to our original comp here, I want to show you how we can play around with not just the blending modes. So I've got the text selected here. In fact, come to think of it, since I've got some cool color here, maybe I'll use the eyedropper and choose a nice yellow for my font, okay? And I can, again, do a drop shadow in the perspective to make it pop off there. Now, I can see here that this needs to be centered up a little better. There. But as we did with Photoshop, we've got blending modes, right? We've got multiply. You see what that can do. So you can see through the font a bit. Again, you're blending the layers together. You got overlay. See? You've got, all these different blending modes. I'm going to play around here with this one called Stencil Alpha. And you see what that does? That basically says that the alpha channel of the text is making the see-through of the video. So of course, when it's not building, see that? That it's actually assembling it with the text. And what I'm going to do with that now is in this comp, which has the cloudy window, cloudy sky, I'm going to take the first comp and nest it and drop it into this one. Okay, and hit the space bar. Watch this. So it's building the transition of the blue sky, but the second the text comes out, the text is now going to cut out the blue sky and assemble the text as video over video. So it's often called like a double exposure effect. And it's just some neat use of, again, video over video, but you're using the alpha channel of the text to actually cut it out. I could actually now, again, do a drop shadow on this if I want to make it stand out, or I could just copy and paste the stroke value to make it stand up. Watch this. Here. I'm going to grab what this represents, copy it, come back here, paste just the text on top. I'm going to go to the layer, blending mode, and just say normal. Let's go in the middle so we can see it now. See? And I'm just going to say no fill, black outline. See that? And that's pretty cool that you can do that. And you see the effect, how it kind of, outlines it. And again, in the outline process, we can change it to be fill over stroke, stroke over fill. See that? Control, the thickness of it. See? And it just gives you a pretty cool little effect there. Oh, and I'm noticing that I'm getting an outline stroke on the drop shadow. So remember, we can always go back here and turn off or deactivate that drop shadow. Do that, so we just get the single letters. And you just get a pretty cool kind of effect there. So remember, there's video inside of the fill of our font because we're using that Stencil Alpha. You could also do Stencil Luma. See, just come back here, layer, blending mode. Silhouette Alpha is the inverse of the Stencil Alpha. So now it is actually the text part that is see-through. So if we come here and you see now it's actually the opposite process. So what's inside the text is actually the cloudy sky, see that, instead of the blue sky video version. And that's kind of, remember, we want to save it. Typically you want to save in the beginning so you can take advantage of the auto key, or auto save. And then when it's time, just verify, yep, 1920 1080 or HD 1080 and encoded H.264. So file, export, add to Media Encoder. Here it is right here. I already had it open. It loads it in and double check your settings. So again, double check your H.264. Now, remember when I did the Twitter version? Just double check what it looks like. H.264. Now, this is something here that's kind of cool because like I did with the Twitter version, I chose Twitter 640, 640, which is what caused all that heavy compression. But if I just say match the source and verify here that it's the correct size, that will also work, and even use render quality. Check the name, check the folder. Hit save, hit OK, and hit the green to start encoding the video. You'll see the progress bar if it's working. Okay. Progress bar is working, and you can see even the video preview output right here. Okay, I'm not going to let that finish. I'm just going to hit the stop button. No, stop button, don't finish. Select it and clear it out of there. this. And we'll go to File, New Project. And once again, purge all the memory disk cache. See, 5.8 gigabytes. It's shocking how quickly you build a lot of the cache memory up just with the preview process. All right, last little assignment here again is the dynamic slideshow. Okay, so I'm just going to go, and again, this needs to be a 1280 720. So again, instead of just new composition or new composition from footage, if you recall, last week we did it in a different way where we selected our video or our photos and dragged them in. And then in order to build the composition so that all of our photos were in proper sequence here, we just, with them still selected, dragged them down. And it says, make a new composition from the selection. Okay, so single composition's fine. Use dimensions from, I don't know. I need this to be 1280 720, but there's no, I don't know which one of these might be 1280 by 720. So I'm going to leave that alone. Still duration is at 4. Okay. And look at this. I can even just send it off to the render queue right now and make a video. But I want to play around more. I want to sequence the layers that will overlap them 1 second each and add an automatic cross dissolve front and back layers in the composition itself. So you see it has now staggered them all. And wherever there's an overlap, it's actually fading, right? One layer, the top layer and the bottom layer together. The problem is my composition. See, and it says here, my composition is 1800 by 1800 because that was the first photo that it chose. Well, immediately go to composition settings and we're going to choose, I believe it's HDTV 720. It's not that one. No, that's 1920. HDTV 720. There we go. 1280 by 720. Okay, I can even give it a name now, right? Last name, Slideshow. And now it's a true 1920 by 720. But recall, it only applies the opacity shift where they overlap. So to make this proper, we're going to want to add the opacity here where it didn't have it to have it fade up from black. And that means we're also going to need to do that at the very end to have this guy opacity fade to 0. And now it's time to just have some fun with this, okay? Now, I'm going to do this just a little bit different this time, okay? And what I'm going to do to make it a little bit different, okay, because I need this to fit, but I also need this to, I could do the pan and scan like I did last week, but I'm going to do a slightly different version here. Okay, so I'm going to select this and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to take the one on top, transform, scale it to fit the whole photo, right? I'm going to go to the one on the bottom and I'm going to put an effect called blur. Blur, sharpen, Gaussian, and blur out, right? Because this is how you see a lot of content online now. When it doesn't fit, they literally put it over top of a blurred out version of the one underneath. Let's go back to the top one now. Okay. And here again, I've got some interesting things I can do with the effects, like I can bevel the alpha or bevel the edges. Let me show you what alpha does. Okay. And that kind of just creates a little bit of 3D style separation, lightness and darkness. Increase, just to make it show up and separate from the back a little bit more. And I'm going to show you now the 3D layering process, okay? Because remember, as it is right now, it's just X and Y, and even rotation is even one option. But by activating this little cube, okay, I now can come and say, all right, well, I want this to tumble in the X, Y, and Z. So I'll start it up, over, and like so. Key, key, key. Move those to the beginning. And then I'll go positive, negative, negative here to get this little tumble effect. See that? Take that and move that to the end of the clip. So now, instead of just, moving it, I'm actually sort of tumbling this in 3D space. See that? Let's go to the next one. Now, immediately, one thing you notice about this photograph is that it's pretty lousy. Well, let's go to a color correction here, and we can do a level. And just like we did with our photos, to improve an underexposed, just move the middle marker to the left. See? And now we just brought out the middle value brighter, which just makes it look like a slightly better picture. Okay, let's go ahead and duplicate it. Whoops, I duplicated the effect. Select off, and duplicate it so it's on top of itself. Now, watch what I can do here. I can grab the blur from the first image, Command C or Control C to copy that blur, go here and just paste it. So you can see if I turn, you see how it's got a blur on it. Now I can come up to this one, scale it to fit so it's against its blurred background. Right? I can even go ahead to this one, to the bevel alpha, copy it, paste it to this one. Right? And remember our effects presets. Okay. So again, even here, we've got like transform, dissolve. We've got all these ways, shapes, movement. I'm going to type in the wiggle, right? Why animate this randomly by hand when I could just go, okay, you know what? Wiggle, position onto it. And it now will, see, I can have it drift over time. Problem is the speed is way too fast. And now watch as it, boy, that's really going slow. See how slow my progress bar is? Let's knock this down to being shorter. Right? That way it'll play back a lot faster. See that? And now the wiggle is just affecting that, just to have it kind of float. You know, it almost would work better instead of just wiggle position. And you see when I do that, I can actually add even rotations to this. So let's just go with rotation key. Positive rotation. Now I have this second slide kind of just randomly rotating and moving kind of through the scene, kind of a tumble kind of way. Again, let's go ahead and have some fun with this one. So I'm going to this guy, scale it up, duplicate it. Take the top one I just duplicated, scale it back down to fit. Once more, I can go grab things like the bevel alpha, copy. paste to have it separate. I could also drop shadows on this stuff. I could also go get my blur, copy that, paste it onto the blur. And I can have some fun now just doing some random movement or something like that to this one. I'm curious to know here. Let me see this. I'm just going to see if this actually works. Transform from the beginning. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select these keys that I made for that rotation, copy them, select this guy, activate it, move the marker to the beginning, and see if I can actually transform and see if this works. Paste. And look at that. It pasted the 3D motion onto this one now from the first one. So we could actually do a lot of cool things here. Like, for example, if we didn't like how this kind of did this strange kind of motion, I can reset it, scale, let me just put it, roughly eyeball it back to where it should be here. Okay. Go to the beginning of it here. Actually, I'll go here to the beginning. Because remember, the last thing I copied was that 3D rotation. Select those, paste. See that what it did? Now we pasted that same rotation that the other two had. But what I'll do is I'll reverse it. Okay, so I'll make the first keys that pasted here. And then, so now I'm going to get what people in the industry basically call, it's almost like a ping pong effect, right? So that my rotation of my first slide is going to do this, rotate around, and then the next one's going to do the opposite. Still don't know why it's giving me that strange rotation. Something's left in there that let me see. Oh, see, my wiggle's still here. So let's just take out the wiggle. There we go. Okay. So we could very easily here, now that I've got all these parameters set up, what I'm going to do, because I know what I've got to do here now, right? Let's go ahead to this one. And I'm going to duplicate it so I can then make this one slightly smaller. Right? Let's go to this one now. Let me see what the size of this is. Okay, so let's just duplicate it. So all I'm doing here, make it fit. Okay, this one needs to be, let's turn off that eyeball. Screen. Make this one fit, right? That's what we have to do if we got vertical. Don't want to crop it. Hate it. Fit size. Scale it to fit inside the box. big. Let's just duplicate it. Box. Last here. Oops, there. That's all right, so I just went ahead and just did all those over top of each other like I did the first few. So now, because I know I'm going to go every other one, let's just go ahead, copy the Gaussian blur again from this first one, and go through these to where, right? And I'll just paste it onto that. Select here, paste it onto that one. Okay. Here, paste it onto that one. And the cool thing is, guys, when you're doing this, that you can actually save this off as a template, and then all you need to do is just adjust the scale of things. But you can, you know, I could literally come in here and right click and replace this file with another photo. Or in the folder, since if I had this just simply called photo 1, photo 2, photo 3, I could just save over those with other photos from other purposes, other places, other things, and the slideshow template is built. And this is where, again, you can actually find templates out there that are pretty cool to work with. Okay. Now, what am I going to do with this guy here? Well, I know in the effects that this has a bevel. Let's copy that. And now I'm going to find the tops of all my other ones and paste that bevel on. Really quickly, like I say, you can move these things around and copy a lot of these keys, copy these effects, so you've got similar kind of movements and kind of standards. Let's go back to this now, right? Because now I can sit here at the beginning, wherever this marker is where I need to copy, and then I'm going to have to paste that rotate XYZ, and C to copy it. This would be the opposite. This would be the same, which we already did. This would be the opposite. This would be the same. But remember, we need to move that and shift to click, activate the 3D, find the rotation variables, and paste. Skipping this one, going to this one here, activating the 3D, opening it up, transform, highlight the rotations, and paste. Skipping this one here, going to the next one there, activating the 3D, opening it up, selecting the rotation, and paste. So really rapidly, we're just copying and pasting, so we have the same basic fluid movements, okay, which means this one would be the inverted. Go to the beginning of its clip, highlight XYZ, copy, skipping this one, going to this one. Putting the marker in the beginning of the clip so it knows where to copy and paste in time. Let's activate the 3D button, highlight the rotations, and paste. Skipping this one to the beginning of this guy here, activating the 3D button, highlighting the rotations, and pasting those keys onto it. Skipping that one here, marker at the beginning of the clip, activate the 3D option, opening it up. So you see, it can be kind of tedious, keeping up with this. But like I said, the results you're going to get this kind of ping pong effect, because the rotation of the slides are the same. They're just ping pong. So it's rotating right to left, and then the next one rotates the same amount left to right, and then the next one repeats that right to left, and you just get a cool effect kind of out of it. Okay, let's go to the beginning, hit space. So you see that one's going left to right rotation. The next one is going to go the same rotation, but reversed. And the neat thing is, I could have actually just copied and pasted the same rotation to every single one of these slides, and then gone to time and did a time reverse. So it just reversed in the opposite direction instead of having to copy and then move those keys. Okay. Now we're getting that little ping pong effect. Which one was that? This guy here. So Sad Cat 04. Okay. Watch what I'm going to do with Sad Cat 04. Okay. I'm going to copy. Actually, it's 4 seconds. I'm going to cut it. Okay. So I just cut Sad Cat 04. I know it's 4 seconds. I'm just going to make a new piece composition. 04. Oh. See, it's nested. I'm going to paste it here. Oh, problem is that this is only 4 seconds. So you see, when I copied and pasted it, it's not visible right now. That is because it was set to 30. If I move it back out to 30, there it is. Now I can move it back in place, or I could actually leave it there. You know what? No, I'm just going to leave it here. Okay. And shift and just say home. Or again, come back to my settings and tell it to be back to 4. Okay. And what I'm going to do here with this right here is I'm going to go ahead and leave my bevel alpha. Okay. But I'm going to take these keys that I created for the rotation. This looks like it wants to have a little bit more time. Let's try 402. So I can't see my end keys. There they are. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to come here and take this temporarily and cut them out. Cut those keys out, and I'm going to reset everything in the rotation and deactivate the 3D. Okay. So I get this about that size. I could probably take out the alpha count. All right. So I want to have some fun here with this guy. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take this puppet work at the 0 value here, and I'm going to pin the corners because I don't want the corners to move. I'm also going to then pin, let's see, around the eyes. Okay. And the ear tops the foreheads like so. So then I'm going to go to the end of the time here. About, again, remember I can move these keys, and I'm just going to give a little sad little expression. See? Sad little expression. Now you can see how I'm bending my frame here. So I'm going to think of it. Let's take those back before I get those keys set. And I'm going to go here and here. Oops, I meant to do that at the 0. Sorry. Here. Then I'm just going to take these keys I added here and just kind of animate this cat looking really sad. Now it did kind of still warp up here. I probably should have put pins all the way around the outside so it didn't deform that. And I'm going to find those 2 keys I changed at the end, find the mesh, find the deform, okay, and that should give me these two keys I just changed, right? Up at pin 14 and 13, and move them to the very end. So what I'm doing here is I'm showing you guys how to animate an image. See, it's just those two pins are making an expression for the cat. And now I can come back to the previous comp where I'm building all this. Let's take comp 1 and drop it where the sad cat 04 went. Put it back there where it needs to be, right? Let's go ahead and activate 3D. Go to the beginning of the clip. Transform, highlight the rotation. I copied it, so it's still in the, see, it's still there in the settings. And the only thing I really need to add to this is the bevel. Yeah, see, it's not beveled. So let's grab this bevel effect. See? And paste. Whoops, wrong one. Paste that bevel on. So now this cat is actually animating his eyebrows to look sad. And again, I'm making stills come to life. Watch the little forehead, the eyes get bigger. It is, of course, warping the frame here. You'll see this when it plays back in real time. All right. Oh, what else do we need? Go ahead. Import some audio. I'll just drop it on the top. Now remember, we can't scrub and hear audio unless we hold in the command or control key. Let's lop it off there. So I'm going to shortcut this to get to the vocal sooner, which I think is okay. Key the volume up, down. Key the volume down. Go ahead and save it. I haven't saved it already. Let's see, last name Slideshow. And now I'm ready to render this off. But again, I can do a lot of very interesting things here with this if I actually go ahead and take it back. So it was 30, 28, it says 30, 28. Okay. So I got a new comp that I'm going to take slideshow comp into. So it's just one layer, right? Because I can control everything once here. Now you can see it actually do the deforming. And I'm going to have some weird fun with this now, just by playing on. Let's see, let's do the generate, just get some cheesy things here because I got light bursts that are really cool for adding to like light bursts and light rays, lens flare even. See what this does, and that gives me the ability of doing different types of lenses. Just 50 here. I can control the brightness. Okay, I can blend it with the original, and it gives me a flare center. So watch what I'll do here. Is I will take this off the screen, key the flare center, get to the end of this clip at 4, and auto key that lens flare coming across the screen like so. Which means now I'm just going to jump one single frame, have this lens flare fly up there, okay, to the upper corner. to get to the next end, which is about here, and have this kind of randomly fly across to the other side. To which I'm going to go 1 frame forward and take it up to the top. Now that gives me a cycle in my effects for these keys, okay, that I can then go copy. I'll just go 1 frame forward, paste, copy, 1 frame forward, paste, and then just go paste there. It should get me, yeah. So you see, I'm just flying this lens flare just for dramatic purposes here. All right, let's save it. And let's go ahead and send it off to the Media Encoder queue to see what our result is. Now, again, I could have stretched out the audio so it doesn't sound exactly like the music, right? So I can get away with something like that, sound it more cartoonish or something like that, more whiny. I can double check how it looks all here. Right, now you can see what that lens flare will do. H.264, match source rate, high bit rate, or I can choose, I think it's supposed to be Facebook 720. I think it's Facebook 720. Okay, check name and location. Okay, double check my use maximum render quality to get the best quality there. Wait for it to load up and then hit the green arrow and that'll give you the progress. Now this is probably going to take a while just because it's 30 some odd seconds. So you can see the elapsed time and the remaining time. So it says it's going to take 15, 16 minutes. It's all about all those keyframes add up. All those filters add up. All those effects add up. So more keys, the slower the process when it comes to actually encode and build that. But it does say about 12 minutes. So while that's doing that, I'm going to come back here because I did want to spend just a little bit of time here before the end talking about the potential. Okay. So in a Google image, just go to Google and say motion graphics designer. And just like I've showed you with vector art, just like I showed you with photo restoration jobs, there's freelance gigs, find motion graphics designers, find freelancer.com, what do motion graphic designers do? Motion designer, broadcast designer, After Effects designer, and you can see here, there's just tons of resources, jobs. See, 23 of the best motion designers to follow. Now it looks like it's about a year-old link, but motion is what we are doing here. And it's everything from title work to animation. Frame by frame enthusiast, freelance animator, creator based in Vancouver, crazy motion to subtle and tranquil moments. And you see here, right? It's just simple little like digital illustrations and that's probably puppet work there to kind of make that kind of animate. This person here, now this is obviously done in a 3D software, but motion designer can be considered that as well. Usually you're using a 3D software if you're doing broadcast graphics. I mean, look at the NFL opening title, right? It's all 3D. So there are other things to motion graphics and motion designing than just, see this even here, this looks like it's done in 3D. And the cool part is that Cinema 4D, is it Cinema 4D? Yeah, Cinema 4D actually works with Adobe. So Cinema 4D is kind of like the title block software company, software that works best with Adobe. So you see, it's not just two-dimensional here, but that is, right? I mean, that looks like it's 2D. That's 2D. You're just making animatable little characters. Stop motion, it can be done in After Effects just by bringing in the frames, right? Got some interesting stuff there. So, and that could easily be pulled off there, the skateboard, by using 3D layers in After Effects as well. So you see there's tons of cool kind of stuff going on here with motion design, or if you, again, typed in title graphics, if you typed in, dynamic slideshow, if you go to videos, and you can look at tutorials, there's just a lot of potential here for doing and utilizing After Effects to create your content. Yeah, see, look at this now. It's now telling me I've got 27 minutes. In fact, let me see if I can free up. I wonder if this will actually speed it up. All memory and disk cache. Okay, that's 2.8, that's out of there. Let's see here. Because I bet if I minimize my After Effects footprint in my Media Encoder here, and I even close the preview, it'll probably go faster because it doesn't have to play back the preview while it's rendering. Now, the problem, of course, with that is I've now lost my process to see how much longer it's going to be. But, right, I can just default my workspace here. See. Maybe it wants me to pause before I do that. Okay, we don't have to wait that for this to actually finish. Just minimize that, let it cancel. All right,